All right, Utes fans, what is up? This is Joseph back with the Utah Utes Football Digest and another big opportunity for Utah to make a statement in conference play as the Utes head into Pullman, Washington to take on the Washington State Cougars. These are both two very good offenses. At least when it comes to passing the ball, two very good passing offenses. And it's going to be an exciting matchup to watch. I know I'm expecting a big game and I'm really excited. And it's a really good opportunity for the Utes to get another solid in-conference win, improve from 3-1 onto 4-1, and really continue to make our march back to being conference champions. So it should be an awesome opportunity. I'm excited to go ahead and break it down for you guys. And on that note, let's go ahead and dive in.
Won't bother hiding my bruises. And when they finally think you're wounded, then it's your chance to be ruthless.
All right, guys, and we are going to do another giveaway this week. This one is going to be for a signed auto card of Nephi Sewell. Just an animal of a player, one of my favorite players on the Utes last year. Nephi Sewell, it's a really nice card too. It's signed auto on card. Here's what you guys are going to have to do if you want to win. Now, whatever you're watching this on, whether it's YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, whatever, what you're going to do is you're going to like the video, you're going to subscribe or follow or, whatever the channel, and then you're going to comment down below what you think the score will be and the description of how you think the game will go to get to that score. So one more time here, you're going to like the video on whatever channel you're watching it on. You're going to comment down below what you think the score will be and how you think it'll happen. So I think Utah will throw for a ton of yards and Washington State won't be able to keep up. Or I think Utah's going to run the ball really well and Washington State won't be able to stop it. That just kind of gives you an idea of what some ideas there are. So I'm going to take both things into account, what your guess at the score was and what your prediction of how the game's going to go was. And the person that gets closest in both accounts is going to be the one that wins this card. So one more time, Nephi Sewell signed auto card. It's pretty awesome. Whatever channel you're watching on, subscribe to the channel or follow on Twitter and Instagram or whatever, and then comment down below the video what you think the score will be and how you think the game will go, how it gets to that score. Whoever's closest on both accounts going to be the winner. I'm excited to see what you guys say, and let's go ahead and start breaking it down. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the numbers, the actual raw stats that'll kind of guide us and what it, at least, kind of give us an idea of what both teams are good at, but more than anything, give us an idea of what they're trying to do in the game, right? That should give us a strong idea there. So first, let's take a look at Utah's rushing yards per game. So rushing yards per game, Utah is looking at 37th in the country, and they're averaging 183.5 rushing yards per game. Now, if you look at the last game, they've rushed for 138, and then in the last three, they've rushed for 164, which means, that number's a little lower over the past three games, which, from watching, it seems like Utah's not running the ball as well against these better run defense teams. But either way, the average is still the average. I'd like them to look better running the ball in this game, but either way, that's where we're at right now heading into this game. And then for Wazzou, this is a huge struggle for them, guys. We got to go way down the list here. So Washington State is 124th right here at 82.2 rushing yards per game. It's a little inflated because they only rushed for 23 yards last game, but over the last three, they're averaging 79.7 yards per game. And just to give you guys an idea, less than 100 rushing yards per game or less than 90 rushing yards per game as a team, it's a rough look. This is not exactly a premier rushing team. Now, the next one we'll look at is going to be passing yards per game. So this is where Washington State actually shines big time. So Washington State is averaging 287.8 yards per game. Over the last three, it's 286.7. This number is a little inflated because in their last game, they threw for 345, but we'll just take it as is. They do seem to be a very good team when it comes to passing the ball. Now, Utah's no slouch either. And if you guys have been following us, you know Cam Rising is a beast, and you know that he really is the heartbeat of this team and becoming just the entire soul and body and heart of the team. I mean, but anyway, so Utah 37th in the country, 268.3 yards per game. So maybe not quite as many passing yards per game as Washington State is, but either way, a very good passing team in Utah. Very good passing team. The next thing we're going to look at is total yards per game. Now, this paints a much clearer picture. So this is how many actual yards are they getting when you combine the two. Because if you're behind a lot, you could just be passing for tons of yards because you're playing keep up and the defense is playing bend don't break. But if you're ahead a lot, you could also be running for a ton of yards, and you're getting the opportunity to just run the ball a ton and milk the clock. So Utah is 28th in the country, so very good overall offense and total offensive yards per game at 451.8 yards per game. Now Wazzou, because their rushing offense is such a not really doing well. They're 80th in the country at total yards per game at 370 yards per game. So quite a bit less. Their offense, you'd want more if you're Washington State. You'd want more from that offense. And that's the offenses for both teams. All right, and the next stat that we're going to be looking at is opponent rushing yards per game. So the better of the two teams is actually Washington State in this category at 134 yards per game. And it's pretty consistent. Actually, this number is probably better than that number shows because the last game was really bad. The last three is almost identical to their whole season, but the last one they let up 203. So they're a pretty good team when it comes to rushing yards allowed. Utah, not too far behind, but ranking wise is quite a bit behind, and it's not a good number. 158.7 rushing yards per game allowed at 78th in the country. Yeah, it's just not a good number. And that number is a little inflated over these last three games, averaging 183 yards per game allowed rushing. But either way, it's still an embarrassing number. I feel like 150 is kind of that line where, okay, if you can be under 150, you're not terrible against the run. But over 150, I mean, you're struggling against the run. And, we'll look at strength of schedule here in a little bit. But, at face value, Wazzou has Utah beat in that number. So this is an area where both teams do struggle a little bit when it comes to opponent passing yards per game. So how many passing yards does your team allow each game? So Utah's 71st of this one at 235.8 yards per game, greatly inflated from the last game with 381. That is against USC, but to be fair, Washington State also played at USC. Utah is a better pass defense than this, but the numbers are the numbers. It is what it is. Right now, they're 71st in the country. Now, Washington State is not great against the pass either. They're allowing 249 passing yards per game, which is quite a bit. But the thing is, they're actually worse than this number shows. Their last game, they only let up 141, which decreases this number quite a bit. Their true number, and the last three, it's 203. So their true number is probably higher to 270. I mean, that's the true number, but against a good passing team. And now let's take a look at total opponent yards allowed per play. Oh, wait, I didn't want to look at per play. Let me pull up the other one. Give me 1 second here, guys. Opponent yards per game is what I wanted. Okay, so yards per game. This is where the two teams, both teams have not had amazing defenses, but they've done decent. So 60th in the country is Wazzou at 383.0 total yards allowed by their defense. Utah 394.5 total yards allowed, 73rd in the country. So very similar. Neither one of these teams leans on the defense, but the numbers show a slightly better lean for Wazzou than it does for Utah. And that was the defenses for both teams when it comes to the yards allowed. Now, this last number I'm going to show you when it comes to this team rankings website is going to be strength of schedule. This is a really important stat to look at I know it kind of seems irrelevant, but basically what strength of schedule is how difficult has your schedule been? Because a team could be number one in the country for passing yards and rushing yards, but if all they're playing is just garbage teams, it doesn't matter. And just so you guys know, all these stats, all these numbers only take into account when you're playing against FBS teams. And this is where I think the numbers start to become a little more clear. Utah is number 14 in the country for strength of schedule, right up there with like a Ohio State or NC State or a TCU, right? One of the tougher schedules in the entire country. Now, Washington is 44th in the country. That doesn't mean they've played an easy schedule. They've played an above average difficulty schedule, but Utah's played a very difficult schedule. So as you know, as we just went over those numbers, take that into account and think about the fact that Utah has played a much harder schedule. And I actually think when we broke those down, Utah looked quite a bit better in some areas. Now, what I want to do is take a look at some of the star players for the two teams. We'll start with Washington State. So the big time star for Washington State is Cameron Ward. He's a big reason why they have so much hype. He's got over 1,900 passing yards in the year, 16 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 53 QBR though, so not great there. But either way, a big time player for Washington State that's really impressed a lot of people and thrown for quite a bit of yards. I looked at the stats here, not a lot in the rushing department. It says negative 32, but I don't know. We'll see. I think he is a quite a good player, and as you guys saw when we broke it down, he they want to throw the ball. They don't run the ball super well or a lot. They want to throw the ball. So this is what's going to be quite impressive. When you look at this here, guys, his overall grade is a 63 offensive grade, 59.9 pass, and a 70 run. What does that mean to us? What does that mean to us? That means that means paper tiger, right? And when I say paper tiger, that means these numbers are really impressive, but there's a reason his QBR is 78th in the country. There's a reason that they're struggling to win games against good competition. This guy throws the ball for a ton of yards, but he's not a great decision maker. He he doesn't he's not grading out very well. So I would say that should give us a lot of confidence in the fact that we should be able to slow down, if not, do quite a bit of stopping towards Cameron Ward's ability to throw the ball. Now, there are two running backs for Washington State that could be playmakers in this game. Now, the two are going to be Jalen Jenkins. He's the guy I have on the screen. And then this guy right here, Nakia Watson. He's at the bottom left of the screen here. So they could both be playmakers. I guess I'll touch on both of them. First, let's talk about Jalen Jenkins. So this guy's averaging 7 yards a carry, 299 yards in the season. This just seems odd to me. And then you look at Jalen Jenkins' PFF grade, it's a very good run grade. Now, why are they not giving him the ball more? Now, he's not a good receiver. He's not a good pass blocker. He's a below average run blocker. But either way, why are they not giving this guy the ball more? And then, we take a look at Nakia Watson. Nakia Watson, 5.1 yards per carry, so very good as well. Only 325 yards in those carries, but you take a look here. So 66 offensive grade, uh, very good running grade, and a good or average receiving grade. So I'm surprised they don't give these guys the ball more. I think for me, when I look at that average yards per carry and I look at how they're grading out when they're running the ball, it's a little scary. It's gotta have you on your toes. The good thing for me is it seems like this coaching staff for Washington State doesn't know how to use their talent because all they're doing is throwing the ball when they have two good running backs. So very odd to me. But those are the two running backs to keep an eye on. Nakia Watson is number 25. And the guy I mentioned earlier, Jalen Jenkins, is number 29. So take a look here, guys. Look at this receiving list. So they've got a bit of talent at receiver as well. The main guy yards wise is Stribling at 359 yards, 4 touchdowns. The thing with him though, he's only graded out as a 66.3, which isn't terrible, but 66.2 receiving grade, not amazing there. This guy, Renard Bell, he's number 9. Stribling's number 88. He's their leading receiver, but this guy, 72, and Robert Farrell at a 69.6 should be guys to watch. So this is where we could have problems, even though Cam Ward's not amazing. We've had struggles at corner over the past few games. I'm not saying we're inept. I mean, Zemiah Vaughn looks good, all that, but you look at those two, and these are both guys, getting 280 plus yards. So, two guys to keep an eye on there when it comes to their receivers. All right, and then we'll go ahead and move over to the Utah side of things and take a look at some of the impact players that Utah has that we're bringing to the table that might be able to be difference makers. So the first guy is Cam Wham Bam, thank you, ma'am, Rising, right? The guy is an animal, 1,855 passing yards on the season, 15 touchdowns, 3 picks, 89.3 QBR, which puts him at fourth best QBR in the entire country. Straight animal. And not to mention, he has 47 carries for 308 yards, averaging 6.6 yards a carry. Now, if that doesn't make it clear to you guys, understand what I'm trying to say here is that the guy is a straight monster, one of the best quarterbacks in all of college football. Let's go ahead and pull up his PFF grade here. He was in quite a shootout against a tough team. He's got an 89.5 PFF grade. Compare that to Washington State's quarterback we looked at earlier. He has a 63 PFF grade, right? Not even in the same conversation as Cam. Cam's got an 84.3 passing grade, a 78.2 running grade, and 81.9 receiving grade from that one catch he had. So, Cam's is straight killing it, doing a great job. If you're watching this and you are a Washington State fan, you should understand just how damn dynamic this guy is. If there is anyone that makes Washington State videos out there, this is the guy. This is the guy to talk about. If you're part of any Washington State thing, this is the guy. I honestly, Cam is an awesome player, and he's one of those guys where you feel like even if everything else goes wrong, you've got him. That's really how it feels to have Cam Rising on your team. He is special and one of the best quarterbacks in the country. I'm not going to be talking about Tavion Thomas as much as he is a big playmaker for the Utes. We have no idea what's going on there. Hopefully that works out, but I wouldn't bank on him. I hear a lot of rumblings, so is what it is there. The other big player who is just as vital to this team as Cam Rising is Dalton Kincaid, right? Number 86, you'll see him on the field. 39 catches for 558 yards and 6 touchdowns. And don't forget, for a good part of that, he was sharing time and, working on the field with Brant Keithy, who's projected to be one of the best tight ends in the country. But so is Dalton Kincaid. Dalton Kincaid is an animal. He's already got 558 yards. The guy is a playmaker. If he can get out there and do his damn thing, he's one of those guys where Cam can't find someone, throw it to Dalton. Cam wants to throw it quick, throw it to Dalton. We need a play on a 2-minute drive, throw it to Dalton. Dalton's the kind of guy that could hit you for 100 receiving yards any given game. He had 234 receiving yards against USC in a huge game, right? Just an animal, a guy that, really does a great job for this Utah team. Uh, Check it out his grade here too, 82.9. That's one of the best grades in the country, 14th in the country, 89.3 receiving grade. Not a great pass blocker, but the guy is just an animal at receiver. If he switched to be a receiver, he would be our number one receiver. The next big time playmaker for Utah we're going to talk about is going to be Devon Bailey. Now, Devon Bailey has 32 receptions for 418 yards, 4 touchdowns, and averages 13.1 yards every time he catches the ball. The guy's already got more yards this year than he had all of last year, and 4 times as many touchdowns. He really looks like he's coming into his own. And let's go ahead and see if we can let's get the game log on this. And why I want to look at that is take a look at these first 3 games. Look at those first 3 games. Not one game had more than 38 receiving yards, right? And none of those games were really all that impressive, right? You really got to take a look at this and look at his last 4 games: 63, 94, 87, 62. He's really come into his own as a playmaker and looks fantastic. I think he could be a guy that a lot of people overlook, right? I think he's known to be a good receiver for Utah, but I don't think that 418 is true to how well he's played over these last 4 games. The guy looks fantastic. Devon Vele should be a key to us winning this game if we're going to throw it out with Washington State. Okay, now let's go ahead and break down the PFF grades for both teams. We just went over quite a bit of them when we were looking at the stars, so I won't spend too much time talking about the stars we already talked about, but we'll look at a lot of we'll look at all the positions and we'll brush on as much as we can here. So we won't go over quarterback. We went over both the quarterbacks in the detail. I think Cam Rising is the clear edge there. I don't think Cam Ward's quite as good as the numbers say. We did look at both wide receiver cores. Both wide receiver cores were pretty good and had a decent. I think Utah had the better wide receiver core PFF grade wise, but Washington State had a little more depth than what Utah has. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Utah running backs. We looked at the running backs for Washington State already, but the Utah running backs, let's take a look here. So we got Tavion Thomas killing it, dude. When he's in, he is making people hurt. Hopefully he's still there. Little concerning the Mekhi Bernard's grade has gone down so much. And Jalen Glover graded out really well, but it seems like we may be, saving him for the red shirt. If he plays in 4 games, he doesn't get his red shirt. So that could be a concern there. I'm sure if I don't love that grade for Bernard though. I think Bernard's actually better than what that grade says. He's a really good player, so you know, is what it is there, but at least he has a very good running grade. So if we do need to run with him, he'll be available. All right, now let's talk about tight ends. We looked at the tight ends for Utah, but we haven't really looked at the tight ends for Washington State. So, Washington State tight ends, let's take a look at you. Okay, Billy Riviere, however you say it, pretty bad, right? 54.3 grade. It's, you know, quite a bit below average receiving grade and average run block or below average run block grade and a terrible pass block. So not a very good tight end there in Riviere, however you say his name. All right, now let's look at the offensive lines for both teams. We're going to start with the centers. The first center we'll look at is going to be Paul Miley for Utah. So 76.2 pass block grade and a 58.2 run block grade. So that's a below average run block grade. That's a overall not a great grade, slightly below average, almost average, but not great. Real good pass blocker though, so you can rest on that because I mean, if we do throw the ball a lot nowadays, it seems like we're turning away from the run a little bit. We're still committed to it, but it definitely does feel like we're throwing the ball quite a bit. We're going to stick with Utah, and then we'll go through Washington State's O line. So next, we'll move to the guards for Utah. So the guards for Utah, boom, let's check them out. Okay, so Keaton Bills, 76.2 pass block, really good receiving grade, but that doesn't really matter. So a very good pass block, and then, below average run block of a 60. Michael Mokofisi continues to struggle, but they put in Jaron Kump for him, and it doesn't look like he graded out much better. So we're kind of a bit of a mess at that second right guard position there. Hopefully we get that figured out before this game. We had 2 weeks to, work out some of the kinks, and hopefully we were able to take advantage of that. And then tackles for Utah. Braden Daniels still grading out average, not great, but he's played against some really good talent. 78.6 pass block grade. That's very, very good. Below average run block grade, though, at a 55. Satoa Lomea, very bad grade, a 51. It's a bad grade. 44.9 pass block, which is pretty terrible, and a 52.4 run block, which is, quite a bit below average. All right, and now let's take a look at the offensive line for Washington State. And sorry if I sound negative while I break down Utah's offensive line. It's been a little underwhelming with the grades and watching them. It's been a little disappointing. Oh, wow, this Connor Gomnis guy is almost grades out exactly the same as Paul Miley. So 66.6 grade. Pass block, really good. And then 60.9 run block, so below average there. It's funny. They're very similar players. All right, now let's take a look at the guards for Washington State. All right. Boom. Washington State. Okay, Washington State, Grant Stevens. So two Below average guards, a 58. They're both a little better at pass blocking, but neither one of them's a great guard. But they're not bad either. They're below average. Now let's take a look at the tackles. Boom. So the tackles for Washington State. Jarrett Kingston. So he's pretty damn good. A 79.5 pass block grade and a 73.8 run block grade. So very good grades in both categories. The opposite guy, Maaki Fifita, very bad, 46.8. So definitely a guy we could take advantage of. This number 66. I would keep an eye on that, guys. Where if our guys are matched up on him, I wouldn't expect to see them have some good reps. So keep an eye on that. I'm guessing he's the right tackle. Okay, now let's take a look at the defense for both teams. So, cornerback, we'll start with Utah. As you know, we have quite a cornerback in Clark Phillips, 83.5 grade. It went down a little bit last week, but that's to be expected, guys. He was going against one of the better receiving cores in the entire country, and Jordan Addison, literally the best receiver in the country last year. So 86.1 coverage grade, even with that, very good pass rush grade is 75.1 and an average run defense grade of a 65.8. This is what you got to be excited about, though. Samaya Vaughn really starting to step up. I noticed him multiple times against USC, 68.5 grade. Not a good run defense grade, is what it is, but a 72.3 coverage grade, guys. That is awesome. Mattielli, decent against the run. If he's needed, he could be in there, but I'm glad Travis Broughton seems to have gotten his spot taken. I'm not celebrating somebody doing poorly, but you know, it does feel like Zamiah Vaughn, at least for the moment, is the better guy to go out there. Okay, so check this guy out. Chow Smith Wade. He's pretty damn good. And they got another good guy I'll point out here in a second. An 80.6 coverage grade. That's very, very, that's an elite grade. Average run defense, below average pass rush, but pass rush doesn't really matter. So he's a very good player we're talking about here. Armani Marsh, also very good. So just solid grades across the board. Pass rush, very good. Run defense, very good. And coverage above average. So, very good player there. So, number 8 and number 6. This guy, Derek Langford, not very good. He's kind of like a Travis Broughton or Mattielli. So, he's number 5. If we can get the matchup with him, that's something we should be taking advantage of. Okay, safeties. Let's see how our safeties are doing, but let's talk about our safeties. So two slightly below average grades. Really good passers grade for Cole Bishop, above average run defense grade, but still continues to be below average in coverage. So, and I'd say that's almost to a point where it's like bad. It's something he needs to keep working on, but is what it is. RJ Hubert continues to have a good coverage grade, but it was better than this before. Again, they played a very good passing team last week, so these grades got brought down a little bit. But these safeties are going to be important. So 63.2 grade run defense for RJ Hubert, 45.8. Again, that's where he struggles. The grade has slowly been going up over time, though. It was really bad at the beginning of the year. And now let's check out the safeties for Washington State. So okay, so they have one very good safety in Jaden Hicks, a 73.5. He has a 77.6 run defense grade. That's very good. Pass rush 75.7, so very good there, and a 69.7 coverage grade, which is quite a bit above average. So he's a very good player. Jordan Lee, kind of like a Cole Bishop sort of guy here. So he's a run defense grade of 75.2. 66.6 pass rush, and a 53.5 coverage. The good news is Sam Lockett and Jordan Lee both struggle in coverage, but they are very good against the run. So if we do get one-on-one matchups with them against, Dalton Kincaid or, any of our receivers, it's a matchup we could definitely take advantage of. Okay, now let's move to the linebackers for both teams, and we're going to start with the good guys in the Utes. Boom. All right, so Utah Utes, Karine Reed, 72.2 overall grade, a 77.7 coverage grade, continues to be very good in coverage. Mahmoud Diabate, very bad in coverage, but very good against the run. Lander Barton, kind of balanced all over, but below average in pass rush and coverage. Decent against the run. So you'd like more out of the linebacker room. Let's see about some of the guys that haven't gotten a ton of snaps. Yeah, I mean, I this is a game, guys, where I would love to see Hayden Fury get in there. Seriously, I know I keep saying that, but this is a team that really wants to throw the ball. Let the guy out there. Let him show you he's good in coverage. He's grading out so damn well. I mean, they must see something in Hayden Fury in practice that makes them not want to put him out there that we don't see. Because I honestly, last year was the same thing. He graded out really well, and it was just sad that he didn't get in more. Oh, sorry, I didn't even look at the linebackers for Washington because I was so annoyed about the Hayden Fury thing. All right. So Pac 12, Washington State. Okay, very good linebacker room. Okay, so this team's pretty legit, guys. I honestly I thought it was going to be the opposite. I thought this was going to be a very good offense um, with a bad defense, but that's not what this team is. 77.0 coverage grade for Francisco Maelga. He's number 51. Maui Goa is actually how you say that, probably. Or Maui Oa. 76.2 overall grade, 72.4 rush defense, 68.3 pass rush, and a 77 coverage. Guys, very good. Wouldn't be surprised if they put him on Dalton Kincaid. Dayan Haley. Now, this guy has 4 sacks in the season. He's a pretty good player for them. Yeah, you can see it here in this pass rush grade of 79.8. Below average coverage, though, at a 63.6, and average run defense 66.1. Trevion Brown, quite a bit below average in pass rush and coverage, average at run defense. All right. And now interior defenders for both teams. Let's see how our guys did. Okay, Junior Tafuna, that grade's slowly starting to creep up. He's got an average grade of a 64.7, but you know, it's nice to see him start getting more involved. So run defense grade is 68.5, pass rush grade a 56, coverage grade 61.6. I like that he's doing well against the run. That's the silver lining there. Good to see. Aliki Vamahi struggling. Samodi Peppa, though, continues to impress. I heard his name mentioned multiple times against USC. 77.8 overall grade, 81.0 run defense, 63.2 pass rush, and 60 coverage. At least he's really, really good. That's an elite run defense grade. Let's get him out there, dude. I mean, Aliki Vamahi, no offense to the guy, but we're probably better off with Peppa out there. All right, and now let's take a look at the interior defenders for Washington State. Boom. Okay, they struggle a bit here, man. You look at this; they have only one player above a 60.6. So that's a good sign, guys. I think we'll do well against this interior defense. Not a lot of great run defenders, so at least we can get those chunk plays with the run, right? Get those 3-4 yard plays. Maybe the linebackers will make the tackle, but if we can gouge them like that, it'll open up the pass game. That's good to see. All right, now edge defenders. Now, okay, first let's look at Utah. Utah. Gabe Reed continued to grade out really well, 74.0, 75.8 pass rush, 64.3 run defense. So very good pass rusher. Love the guy. Jonah Ellis kind of stepped back up. He went down there for a little while. So it's nice to see that his run defense is back to a 78.7. Really good grade. We got a great edge room that kind of shifts in and out. The depth is not as good as the top end, but it's decent. Van Fillinger, kind of a disappointment here this year. I was hoping for more out of him, but don't want to focus on the negative. All right, now Washington State. Washington State's got a great room of edge rushers. I remember this guy last year, Ron Stone, but Quinn Roth too. So, all these guys are pretty damn good pass rushers, and everyone except one. Quinn Roth is really good against the run, and the other two, the other guy's average. And then either way, though, pretty good pass rushers for Washington State. So, really, really good. Two really good teams going up against each other. I think it's clear after looking at those PFF grades that this game will be no cakewalks. Those are the PFF grades for the two teams. Now, I am about to give you guys my breakdown for the game and what I think is going to happen, what I think Utah's game plan is going to be, and what my score prediction is. But don't forget, if you guys want to win this signed Nephi Sewell card, it's an on-card auto too, which if you know anything about cards is pretty cool. Make sure you guys like the video, whatever channel you're on, whether it's Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. Like the video. Make sure you follow or subscribe to the channel. What you're going to do is you're going to comment down below what you think the final score will be and how you think the game will go. So if you think we're going to run the ball all over them, if you think we're going to throw the ball all over them, if you think we're going to shut down their pass, describe how you think the game goes. It's your opportunity to kind of give me a breakdown and kind of hear what you guys think and win the card in the process. The person that gets closest on both fronts is the person that's going to win the card. So this should be a ton of fun there. It should be pretty awesome. But now let's talk about what I think is going to happen. So how I think this game goes is that we have a really good opponent in Washington State. I think that's clear, especially on their defense. I think their defense is going to give us some headaches at times. I like our run game against their defensive line, right? I think we'll be able to run it for short chunks. And they have a lot of good coverage guys in their safeties and their corners. It's a good group we're going against here. So on our offense, I think we're going to stay committed to the run, and I think it will work. It'll work in little bursts, and eventually their team will start to wear down a bit, and that'll let us open up those bigger 5-10+ yard runs. But then passing the ball, right? We got two really good receivers in Devon Vele and Money Parks. Plus, we have Dalton Kincaid, one of the best tight ends in the country. So, you take that all into account. I think we're going to throw the ball quite well, too. I think they have a good team at covering the pass, but they don't have Cam Rising, dude. We have Cam Rising. I think Cam will have a very good game against these guys. I don't think he'll be as much of the whole focus as he was when we played USC, but I think he'll play a large role, something like 250 yards, maybe 50 plus rushing yards, having to make some plays against a good defense every now and then. I think our offensive line might have some problems against these guys, but either way, I like the way we match up. I think this team defensively is better than I thought, and I think and I break these down with you guys. I kind of learn as we go, but I think their defense is better than I thought they would be, and their offense is actually quite a bit worse than I thought they would be. Good receiving group though. That's probably why Cam Ward has so many yards. Is a good group of receivers around him. Not that he's terrible, but he's not what the numbers might show. So this is how I see the game going. Like I said, I think we throw and run well against this defense. We use little chunk plays with the run, and then we should be able to win some matchups here and there with Vele and Parks. Get Parks involved with a couple reverses, something like that. And then worst case scenario, just throw it across the middle to Vele. He's the guy, right? He's the guy to get the damn ball to, and he'll get it done if we put it in his hands. I mean Kincaid. I think I said Vele, but I meant Kincaid. Yeah, just put it in Kincaid's hand. He's a freaking animal. I see us winning this game. I see it being significant, but not a blowout. I see us winning this game 28-17 for Utah, right? This is a good team. This is not going to be a walk in the park. I think anyone telling you that story is misleading you. Now, we could blow them out. You never know what's going to happen, but this defense does look very good. And we've played a much harder schedule than them, but they haven't played an easy schedule. So this should be a good team. And on that note, guys, please, I'm going to get out of here. Please like the video. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and comment down below to enter into the video contest. Seriously, if you guys want to win this card, I would love to get it to you, the Nephi Sewell signed auto. So outside of that, I am out of here, guys, and go Utes.
Won't bother hiding my bruises, and when they finally